Hi, Mr. Padilla.
Good morning.
So do you have any reflections on this year, how this year has gone?
Um, it's been a whirlwind since I started on March 1st, and as you know, on March 1st we had to make a tough decision to put us in remote learning for 2 weeks. And that started something that revealed to me the resilience of this campus. Because here we are, I start off and you're making a tough decision and you kind of wonder how the campus community is going to react to that. And what I found was everybody just came together to do the right thing, to make sure that the positives that we had wouldn't expand into some type of super spreader event. And what I really admired is how the students came together, particularly the upperclassmen who were telling the underclassmen, hey, we got to fly straight here. We want to make sure that once we get past this and that we can have a semblance of normalcy to the extent you can in COVID times, a semblance of normalcy the rest of the semester. And that's what really struck me. One, they all came together. Of course, the faculty and the staff did that as well. Faculty had to adjust on a dime from in-person to remote. They did that fabulously. So what really struck me I think my 9th week as president, is how resilient and how cooperative and close this family is.
That's awesome. So with this year's commencement ceremonies being in person, do you have any in-person plans for the class of 2020?
For
The class of 2020.
Oh, from last year.
To make up for...
Unfortunately not. Unfortunately not. And that it is incredibly regrettable. But at this point in time, I have to focus on the class now and our future. And so, unfortunately, the way they graduated is the way it's going to have to be. I wish we could make that up, but we just don't have the resources, the capability to do that.
So what was your exact reasoning behind requiring the COVID vaccine for the fall semester?
One, safety. We know that the CDC, the Biden administration, the FDA, anybody who's a public health expert wants as many people vaccinated so that we reach herd immunity. That's first and foremost in my mind. But second of all is I want to return this school to as a normal a setting as possible for the students, for the faculty. I don't want to have to look back over our shoulders and look for COVID and look at spikes and so forth, because if you're vaccinated, the odds are we're not going to be doing surveillance tested for anybody who can show that they've been vaccinated. I want the students to not have to look over their shoulder. I want them to feel that they can go into in-person learning and not have to worry about whether or not they're going to get sick or whether the faculty are going to get sick. Now, having said that, there still may be some things that we have to do. We'll have to wait and see where COVID is by the time we return to school, and we'll tailor any kind of restrictions or precautions accordingly. But my hope is that we're going to continue on this upward path to normalcy and to health across the country, and particularly here at Valpo. And if that's the case, we can start relaxing a lot of different things. And to those who are vaccinated, again, they're not going to be subject to surveillance testing. They'll be tested if they show symptoms, just like you would do for any kind of situation, but they won't be subject to the kind of intense scrutiny that we had them because we had to at that point in time before the vaccines.
And
in other words, I want you to have a typical college experience as much as you can.
And you led into my next question of, do you have any certain planned precautions as of right now, or is it going to be a basis when we come back?
I'm going to have to wait and see, because again, as you know, with this with this virus, things just can change on a dime. I mean, look what happened in India. Look what happened in Michigan, where they had a resurgence of it, and there's all these variants. So I could tell you this is what we hope we're going to do, but it may be out of date in a month or 2 months. So we're going to kind of wait and see, but I can tell you we're going to do everything we can to make sure that those who are vaccinated can have a normal experience as possible.
So coming up on next year, what do you have in mind for any big goals?
Well, first of all, at the end of this academic year, we're going to engage in a campus-wide strategic planning process. And it's going to go from basically the end of May to end of May next year, 2021. No, 2022. And that will be an exercise in which we kind of figure out what the future is going to be for Valparaiso University in the next 3 to 5 years. Our academic programs, our student programs, our buildings, all of that. We're going to ask some really tough questions such as, you know, do we continue to be the residential school that we have been? Roughly about a third of our students are commuter, maybe a little less than that. But nevertheless, you know, do we continue down that road or do we make any changes? My suspicions is that will be the same percentages, but I want to have really thoughtful people on campus tackle that and think about it in a very thoughtful way.
And going on next year as well, do you have any updates on the Valpo mascot that you can share with us?
The committee is culling through all the suggestions, and very soon they're going to be putting forth 4 recommendations and be giving it to me. But before they even give it to me, they're going to put out those 4 recommendations out for public comment. Not a vote, but just for have an opportunity for our public to see what those 4 recommended mascots/nicknames are and to get feedback. And that will help me as I make my decision on what the ultimate mascot or nickname would be. So I hope to have all that wrapped up sometime in June.
That sounds good. How have you liked Valpo since you arrived?
I love it. My wife and I are living on campus in the guest house. My daughter's living with us as well. She's working on some things herself. And I got my loyal dog, Coach, and what could be better than that? And you know, by being there, it's so easy for me then to go to a football game or a softball game or a track meet or go listen to our chorus rehearse in the chapel on a Sunday. And it just helps me get into the rhythm and the vibrations of this great campus. So, love it.
And with athletics, how do you think they have done with COVID despite all their setbacks with the testing?
Well, I think they've done a fabulous job. You know, a lot of it mandated by either Missouri Valley or the NCAA, and they've done a great job in complying and keeping their numbers low, the positivity rate low. You know, naturally, no matter, people can say no, but it has affected our ability to compete. I mean, if you have somebody who's sick and it just upsets the rhythms of the team and so forth. But I think under the circumstances, they've done a great job. I'm looking forward to next year where, you know, again, with vaccinations and so forth, there won't be the kind of restrictions and disruptions to the ability, for their ability to compete.
And with that, do you think that fraternity and sorority life is becoming less popular for incoming students?
I don't believe that's the case. You know, I don't know of any actual hard data, but you know, I've met with a couple of fraternities and other members of Greek life, and they seem to be as resilient and robust as they've always been. And I know they've played a special part in the history of Valpo, and I think they'll continue to do so. You know, from the enthusiasm they bring, I don't see that happening. And I think it's a good thing for folks to develop tight bonds, however they do it, whether it be in Greek life or whether it be through the TV station or the radio station. I think it's good that even though we're a small school and it's hard to get lost at in this campus, but I also think it's good for people to find their own communities, whether it be in Greek life or outside Greek life. And I think we offer a lot of those opportunities.
Do you think there's anything that fraternity and sorority life could improve on for the campus?
Not right now. You know, I'm still in the situation of learning as much as I can. I think, you know, and the fraternities I met with, they really are stepping up in terms of social service programs and leadership. They may be doing a good job now, but as with anything, as with the president, you can always do better. and grow. And I would just encourage everybody here on campus, and whatever association they're in, whatever organization they're in, you always have to demand more of yourself and getting better. You never can you can never become complacent, because if you do, you're going to fall back, because life moves on, and you never can take things for granted.
And what main goals, as you were saying about expanding and doing better, what main goals do you want to accomplish at your time at Valpo?
Well, I want to be faithful to the legacy of this great institution. It's, to me, the greatest Lutheran university in the nation. It's a great faith-based university, and I want to make sure that in addition to the great academics that we offer, we understand that there are things bigger than ourselves. I want to create great engineers and English teachers and meteorologists and business people, but they also want them to be enlightened engineers, meteorologists, English teachers, enlightened in the sense that they understand their place in the universe, their place in God's kingdom, no matter what kind of religion they practice. You know, in my mind, I want our students, by the time they leave here, to ask two questions in themselves every morning. What can I do today to make myself better? And more importantly, what can I do today to make somebody else better? And if I achieve that, I will have done my job in a lot of different ways. In addition to obviously producing great graduates who worry about not only themselves, but how, again, they can make others better. A lot of this is very simple in some respects.
Yeah, and so what drew you to Valpo besides the Lutheran aspect?
Well, as you know, I'm a Catholic, but I was at DePaul University for 15 years, and the largest Catholic university in the nation. And there at DePaul, there was always this question that hovered across every meeting that we had, whether it be a business meeting, a fundraising meeting: is this consistent with our Catholic Vincentian mission? And I left DePaul last June to go to the University of Colorado system in Denver. And once I was there, it's a public institution, right? It's not faith-based. I realized how much I missed being part of a faith-based institution. And so when the Valparaiso opportunity came up, I went for it because I wanted to return to that, where our faith cuts across everything we do. And so fortunately, I was able to get this get this job and return to that kind of environment. Here, as I told you before, I want to be a place where the faith cuts across everything, but we also allow people the freedom to practice their faith in whatever way they want, and it doesn't necessarily have to be the Christian faith. I met a student last night at the Celebrate service at the chapel last night, and there's a Muslim student who goes to these because he feels the sense of peace and acceptance, and he's not going to convert to being a Christian, and that's fine because we're welcoming to all. But he basically buys into the underlying principle that all humans deserve respect and dignity, and we have to treat them that way.
And anything else you would like to add?
I just want to thank the community for welcoming me, my wife Hilda, and my daughter Camille, and Coach into this great community. Let me tell you a story that really kind of, to me, personifies the love people have for this institution. My assistant got a call from a woman who is the widow of a faculty member here, a great respected professor, and she said she had a gift for me. And so it was on a Friday, and she came by like at 8:30, and she said, I only need 15 minutes of his time. And so she had this bag, like a shopping bag from a department store, and then she presented me with 3 items that another alum had knitted for me. And that alum apparently wanted to be anonymous. And one of the things was called a prayer shawl that she had knitted. And apparently, while you're knitting this prayer shawl, you pray for somebody. And while she knitted that shawl, she prayed for me. And it actually has a little emblem that says, "Prayer shawl for Jose Padilla." And to me, there's a lot of things that I can say captures the spirit of this university, but that just showed me here's this woman who doesn't know me from Adam, and this alum whoever knitted this, but they're not necessarily praying for, they are praying in white and white for Jose Padilla, but they're praying for the new president, whoever that person is. And did she have to do that? No, but she did it because she loves this place and wants me to make sure that I take good care of this place in conjunction with everybody else. So it shows this is a family, and it's a small yet mighty family, and I'm just so grateful that I'm part of that. Because, like, say for example, the University of Colorado system, there were 65,000 students and 4 different campuses, and you never felt that intimacy. Even at DePaul, as much as I love DePaul University, being 22,000 students, and it really was more like a commuter school than a residential school like here, you didn't feel that sense of intimacy. You feel it here. You feel you're part of something. It's really, really special. So I want to thank you all for bringing me in, and I hope I don't let you down by the time this is all over.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.